Hi, my name is Yasenguev. This will be a rather long video describing a very interesting situation in a company called United Group. United Group the headquarters of the company is in the Netherlands, but it's owned by two major shareholders. So the minority shareholder is Dragan, a businessman from Serbia, and the majority shareholder is an investment fund called BC Partners, based in the United Kingdom. The company has assets in Bulgaria and Greece and former Yugoslavia, mainly telecom companies and media companies. And now there is a huge conflict, and I will describe the conflict in details and especially the legal part. But let me start from somewhere. So in the beginning of the scandal was the removal of the chairman of the supervisory board and minority shareholder Dragan Solak and the CEO of United Group, Victoria Boklak. And in the same moment, the majority shareholder, BC Partners, appointed Stan Miller as CEO and Libor Vončina as his deputy. Probably it's important to say in the beginning that, strangely enough, United Group is managed by the minority shareholder so far. That has changed with the appointment of Stan Miller. The next thing that happened is that there was a statement from 14 directors out of 17 people are directors and report directly to the CEO. So 14 out of 17 went in favor of Solak, asking that he should be reinstated, and also Victoria Boklak as CEO. Then after several days, 8 out of 9 CEOs of the companies of United Group also came in favor of Mr. Solak publicly. What was said was that all those CEOs, they represent 90% of the revenue of United Group. And my guess is that the only one that didn't sign the letter was Adrian Jezina, who is CEO of the United Group business in Croatia. Interesting thing was mentioned in the letter coming from the directors. They said that there are a lot of new consultants coming on board in United Group, and I will explain shortly what that probably means. Normally, when there is a change on top level, there is a preparation before that, and there is a swift change of several people, not only the CEO and deputy CEO, if there is a deputy CEO, but of many people in the company in order to take over control. Another way of taking over control is just to appoint a CEO, in this case also a deputy, then to bring on people as consultants that might in the near future become directors, replacing people from the current management. So my feeling is that the fact that there were several people claiming to be consultants was kind of a red light for the current directors, and they are worried that probably they will be removed quite soon. Okay, what happened next is that it became clear what is the conflict about between Mr. Solak and BC Partners. Mr. Solak asks for bonus of 250 million euro. It's not clear because different sources claim different amounts. But this bonus is based on the sale of the cable operator SBB in Serbia. He claims that that was an arrangement, that he was in charge of this sale that was successful, and also the sale of certain media assets. And the United Group received 1.5 billion euro out of this sale. And Mr. Solak asks not only for his bonus, but also for distribution of 1 billion euro as dividend. After the sale of those assets, those money are in United Group, And he claims that there was some decision that there will be a dividend that will be distributed, which means that he will get a substantial part of that money. BC Partners has 55% of the shares of United Group, and according to public data, Dragan Solak has something around 40, a little bit, probably more than 40% of the shares. Dragan Solak also submitted an offer to buy out the shares of BC Partners in United Group, but they did not agree to that, and there was no public statement why. So, after his removal, what did Mr. Solak do? He, through companies he owns, has submitted a request to the Enterprise Chamber of the Amsterdam Court of Appeal to explain that United Group is registered in the Netherlands. Solak complains about his consultancy agreement not being extended by United Group. All that is based on a statement of United Group, all that information, and about his own companies not having received swift payments, including dividend. In the request to the Enterprise Chamber, Solak asks the court to urgently take measures, claiming that there is a, and I quote, serious governance crisis. So, right now I'm going to go in a PowerPoint format in very deep analysis of the legal part. And the reason is that this is very important for the future of the company, because it shows all the opportunities that Mr. Solak has in the future. And then at the end of the video, I will explain the way forward, the different options. What will happen, of course, nobody knows, but the situation is quite tough. But let's start with the legal part. In the Netherlands, a shareholder can initiate a court case based on a serious governance crisis in a company, primarily through the inquiry procedure before the Enterprise Chamber of the Amsterdam Court of Appeal. The core ground for initiating an inquiry procedure is, and I quote, well-founded reasons to doubt the correctness of the affairs of the company. This is a broad concept that can encompass various forms of serious governance crisis, including. So the first one is generally mismanagement. This is the most common and central ground. It refers to structural or continuous improper management of the company, and examples include serious financial mismanagement. This means persistent losses, questionable investments, lack of proper financial controls, or fraudulent activities. Another reason, breach of fiduciary duties by the board, directors acting against the company's best interests. This can involve self-dealing, conflicts of interest, or gross negligence. Another one, lack of transparency and information provision. It means failure to provide shareholders with adequate and timely information as required by law or the articles of association, especially if it hinders their ability to exercise their rights or oversee the company. Another one, decision-making process, decisions that are taken without proper deliberation or in bad faith. And finally, strategic management, persistent poor strategic decisions that demonstrably harm the company's long-term viability and value. The second ground is deadlock situations, where decision-making with the company has come to a halt, often due to equally split shareholdings or irreconcilable disagreements between key shareholders or board members. This can paralyze the company's operations. Third is abuse of power, normally by majority shareholders or the board. And this means disregard for minority shareholder interests. This can manifest as unequal distribution of dividends, exclusion from decision-making, or actions aimed at disadvantaging minority shareholders. Another reason could be harmful shareholder behavior, actions by a shareholder or group of shareholders that detrimentally affect the company interests, even if not directly related to management. Fourth, breach of articles of association or internal regulations. This means consistent or significant deviations from the company's own rules that undermine good governance. And the last one, fifth, lack of proper internal checks and balances, a governance structure that fails to adequately supervise the management board or address internal conflicts. Now we move to the inquiry procedure process. If the enterprise chamber finds well-founded reasons, it can order an investigation into the company's affairs. The ultimate goal of the inquiry procedure is to restore sound corporate governance and, if necessary, to take measures to rectify the situation. If mismanagement is established after the investigation, the enterprise chamber can impose various remedies which are often far-reaching and can include the following: annulment of decisions, this means declaring certain board or shareholder decisions null and void, suspension or dismissal of directors or supervisory directors, removing individuals from their positions, appointment of temporary directors or supervisory directors, appointing independent parties to manage or oversee the company. Another one is temporary transfer of shares, transferring shares to an independent administrator to break the deadlock. Another one, dissolution of the company in extreme cases where no other solution is feasible. And finally, issuance of binding instructions directing the company to take certain actions. Who can initiate an inquiry procedure? Generally, the following parties can initiate an inquiry: shareholders representing a certain percentage of the company's issued capital. The exact percentage depends on whether the company is listed or not, but often requires a significant stake, something like 10% for unlisted companies or shareholders with a smaller stake, if they can demonstrate a sufficient interest. Another one that can initiate this is public prosecutor or the trade unions. Other potential grounds for court cases. This is outside of the inquiry procedure. While the inquiry procedure is primary route for a serious governance crisis, other more specific legal actions a shareholder might include: challenging board or shareholder resolution. A shareholder can ask the district court to annul a resolution if it is contrary to the law, the articles of association, or standards of reasonableness and fairness. Another one is shareholder dispute resolution process. This is forced exit. A shareholder can request the court to compel another shareholder to sell their shares if their conduct adversely affects the interests of the company to such an extent that the continuation of their shareholding cannot reasonably be expected. Forced buyout. A shareholder can request the court to compel other shareholders to buy their shares if their own rights or interests are harmed by the conduct of co-shareholders to such an extent that the continuation of their shareholding cannot reasonably be expected. There are also director liability claims. Shareholders can potentially initiate claims against directors for damages if the directors have acted negligently or improperly, causing harm to the company, though this is often brought by the company itself through a representative action. And another one, information request. Shareholders have a right to information from the company, and if this is denied without valid reasons, they can seek a court order to compel the company to provide it. Let me give you also a real example. The AkzoNobel case in 2017 is a prominent example of a governance crisis that led to an inquiry procedure initiated by activist investor Elliott Advisors. AkzoNobel, a major Dutch paints and coatings company, received several unsolicited takeover offers from its American rival PPG. AkzoNobel's board rejected these offers, citing reasons such as undervaluation and concerns for various stakeholders. Elliott, a significant shareholder, strongly disagreed with the board's rejection and pushed for an extraordinary general meeting to discuss the offers and remove the chairman of the supervisory board. AkzoNobel resisted. Elliott argued that the board was acting against the interests of shareholders by refusing to engage with PPG and dismissing lucrative offers without sufficient justification. They asserted that this constituted mismanagement or at least well-founded reasons to doubt a correct policy due to disregard for shareholder value and the refusal to facilitate shareholder input. While the enterprise chamber did not order the dismissal of the chairman of the supervisory board as requested by Elliot, it did find that AkzoNobel had acted unwisely, often translated as unwise policy or mismanagement in a broader sense, by failing to properly communicate and engage with shareholders regarding the PPG bids. The court criticized the board's lack of transparency and its handling of the activist investor. The ruling, even without direct dismissal, was a significant win for Elliot as it put immense pressure on AkzoNobel to change its approach. Ultimately, the CEO and chairman of AkzoNobel left the company, and the company undertook a major restructuring, including the sale of its specialty chemicals business, aligning more with the activists' initial demands. In the Netherlands, specifically within the context of the Enterprise Chamber's inquiry procedure, the primary goal is a restoration of sound corporate governance, not necessarily the reinstatement of a dismissed CEO or chairman of the supervisory board. Here's why reinstatement is highly unlikely and the nuances of the Dutch system. Nature of dismissal. A CEO or a member of the supervisory board, including the chairman, holds a corporate law position. They can generally be dismissed by the competent corporate body using the general meeting of shareholders for a CEO management board member or the general meeting of the supervisory board itself for a supervisory board member, depending on the articles of association. At any time, in principle, without needing a reasonable ground, in the same way as a regular employee. While a CEO often also has an employment contract, the corporate dismissal, losing their position as a director board member, generally terminates the employment contract simultaneously unless there is a specific prohibition, something like illness or pregnancy at the time of dismissal. Even then, the corporate function is lost. Dutch employment law, while protective of regular employees, does not allow for the reinstatement of a statutory director, CEO, managing director, if their dismissal is deemed reasonable or unfair. Instead, the court can only award financial compensation. The Enterprise Chamber's powers in an inquiry procedure are designed to intervene in the governance of the company to rectify mismanagement or deadlock. When it finds mismanagement, it has broad powers to impose measures. These measures are forward-looking and aim to fix the company's governance. The Enterprise Chamber can order the suspension or dismissal of a CEO or chairman of the supervisory board if their actions are found to constitute mismanagement. The Enterprise Chamber focus is on what is best for the company's sound policy going forward. Reinstating an individual who was part of the problem, leading to the finding of mismanagement, or who is the cause of an ongoing conflict, for example, a deadlock situation, would generally contradict this goal. Their primary measure involves removing problematic individuals or appointing new, independent ones to restore order. While a reinstatement case would be extremely rare, if a CEO or chairman is dismissed, the trust relationship with the shareholders, other board members, or stakeholders is typically irreparably broken. It will be highly counterproductive to force their reinstatement. The only theoretical way a dismissed CEO might regain their position is if the corporate dismissal procedure itself was fundamentally flawed or invalid. For example, there is incorrect convening of the meeting if the shareholder meeting that dismissed them was not properly convened according to the articles of association or law. Another reason is lack of opportunity to be heard. Directors have a right to be heard before a dismissal decision is taken. If this right is violated, the dismissal resolution could be avoidable. In such cases, the court might annul the dismissal resolution. However, even if the resolution is annulled, the company could immediately hold a new properly constituted meeting to dismiss them again. The practical effect of reinstatement in such a scenario would likely be very short-lived and symbolic, primarily serving to establish a claim for damages rather than truly returning them to their function. What will be the strategy of Dragan Solak looking forward? His strategy could diminish United Group's value right now. His approach appears to have two main paths. First option, Solak acquires BC Partners' stake. He aims to persuade BC Partners to accept his offer, making him the sole shareholder of United Group. Second option, Solak negotiates with a new shareholder if BC Partners sells to another party. Solak intends probably to negotiate for a management control, even as a minority shareholder. The last attempt to sell United Group as a whole reportedly garnered no interest. The ongoing dispute between BC Partners and Solak will likely complicate or prevent the sale of further assets, as such a step would presumably require agreement from both shareholders. I'm not 100% sure in that, but it makes general sense that when there are two big shareholders, they should agree before an asset is sold. Given this situation, the potential outcomes for United Group are the following. First, the current ownership structure remains unchanged. Second, Solak buys out BC Partners. Third option, BC Partners buys out Solak. And a fourth option, a new investor acquires shares from either Solak or BC Partners or purchases both their stakes, and there is somebody new that is shareholder and sole owner of United Group. Sorry that it was so long, but I think it was important to go into the nitty-gritty details of the legal part, because this is a serious conflict, and I'm not sure that the current case in the Court of Netherlands will be the last one. It could be only the first one, and to be followed by other cases brought by Solak, which will create a huge problem. Also, from negotiation point of view, Solak is in a stronger position because he is the sole owner and he can decide whatever he wants to do. As BC Partners is a company and they have appointed someone, it's the head of Europe, Nikos Latopoulos, who is representing the company. So somebody at BC Partners might decide that he needs to appoint somebody else or to change in order to change the strategy of BC Partners and resolve the current conflict. It's a great story for a case to be studied in university. The problem with writing the whole story as a case study is that it's still not over. That's all for me. See you soon again.